Chapter 4. Embrace discomfort, receive sales success. As humans, we are creatures of certainty. We love to know what's coming around the corner. We crave the knowledge that everything's going to work out okay. But the irony is, it's the uncertainty of life that gives it all its pleasure. Without the uncertainty, we'd be bored out of our brains. If we knew what were always about to happen in the next moment, then there'd be little enjoyment in actually experiencing it. Some of the most disappointing moments in life are when someone tells us the ending of a movie whilst we're halfway through it. Understand that growth happens and can only happen when we step outside of our comfort zone and our perception of what's possible in life transforms. Quite often, that means facing and sitting in the emotional and mental discomfort we've previously been running from. It's a lot like going to the gym. Remaining committed to the exercise despite the pain is how our muscles grow. Remaining committed to a learning journey despite the discomfort is how we expand our capabilities and knowledge of the world. And it's this discomfort that the sales game invites people to face. The discomforts that in normal life could be swept under the old dusty rug by a night out with friends, binge watching a TV series, or any other form of worthy procrastination. The discomforts we all experience on some level, yet so many of us choose to selectively ignore. The fear of not being good enough, that causes us to hold on to our chips for a little extra security and comfort at the cost of truly advancing in the game. The fear of not being loved, which stops us from putting ourselves out there to the rest of the playing group. At least then we won't be rejected by our fellow players. The fear of being found out, which stops us from asking for help in front of the rest of the group. The fear of demise, which stops us from even getting started playing to begin with. The fear of success, which sabotages our victory just before the finish line. Or the fear of true connection, which ironically is the whole reason any of us ever want to play the game of life to begin with. These fears sit at the core of everything that holds us back from being our ultimate best. In the real world, they're the underlying reason we haven't created that foolproof product yet. They're the reason we've resisted writing the book so many people are asking us for. They're the reason we haven't fired that team member yet, even though we know it would be best for all parties involved. They're the reason we feel unfulfilled, yet powerless to do anything about it. As can be expected, facing these uncomfortable truths about ourselves can be extremely confronting. We can suddenly be shown behind the curtain of what these fears are truly costing us, with the revenue totals and sales numbers of our business being a direct, measurable reflection of that. We immediately become aware of how much we've been holding our own selves back, as we remember that ideal client we still haven't approached for fear we'll be told no. We realize the impact our own unnecessary insecurities have on our relationships with our clients, as bit by bit we learn the real reason we keep losing the clients we foolishly assumed were going to be with us for life. But it's upon confronting them, being honest with ourselves about them, resolving them and moving forward that people become dynamite after experiencing the sales game. How could they not? The unconscious or conscious fears that had been holding them back from being their true selves have now been removed. No longer do they see the need to hoard all their chips at the fear of never being able to make them back again. No longer do they fear being told no for fear of being rejected for what they're offering. No longer do they need to run from the true feedback the game is giving them about how they're playing life. In fact, they relish the opportunity to learn more about how they can play the game even better. The lacquer band that had been pulled further and further back has now been released and is slinging them forward at a phenomenal rate of knots. They literally have no choice but to experience their next level of business and sales results, and quickly. Quite often, attendees will describe their newfound mindset as one of relief or release. They describe a tension or anxiety that is no longer there. The stories they told themselves previously about why or how their next level of sales and business results were off limits rapidly melt away. And in its place, they become benefactors of a newfound sense of empowerment, inner certainty, and clarity on how to move forward. And the way they play the game has irreversibly changed for the better. But here's the thing. Because the old thing that used to hold them back has been completely transformed, They actually take immediate action towards their new goals. No more setting a plan and staring at it for the next 6 months. They find the plan starts writing itself as they start taking motivated and inspired action towards their next level of success, whatever that may uniquely be to them. They almost can't help but start moving. Products get created, decisions get made, sales get sold, businesses grow, impact and influence rises. It actually becomes more difficult to sit still and procrastinate than it does to go out there and take on the world. And all it took was for them to play the sales game and face the discomfort they'd been previously so afraid of. It's amazing what happens when we embrace discomfort. It's such a shame what happens when we don't. The sales game gives us the chance to make that choice.
The not-so-subtle art of surrender. As Darcy described, we often find the biggest opportunities for personal and professional, and dare I say spiritual and relational growth just on the other side of discomfort. We know this logically and intellectually. You may have even said to yourself, oh yeah, gym and muscle analogy again. Yet, even with this knowledge, it doesn't often translate into tangible action. If there's one thing I've noticed within humanity at large, it is that we are consistently inconsistent. We regularly know the right thing to do for the betterment of ourselves and all, yet we willingly choose to do the exact opposite in the moment, with guilt and shame soon following. Why? Why is it that we do this? It makes very little sense. However, after spending some time exploring simulation environments and facilitating the sales game, I've started to see some patterns of those who flick the irrevocable switch towards consistency, alignment, and actions toward betterment instead of self-sabotage and procrastination. That is, those who decide in a moment to surrender to whatever monster is hiding in the shadows, holding them back, immediately finds reprieve and release. It's a courageous act, not always taken, but the strike rate is currently sitting at 100% breakthrough at those moments. An example was a young lady who was almost to the point of being physically sick at the thought of sharing what was going on for her during the game. All it took was for her to interrupt everyone with a public announcement of, I just need to tell everyone that I'm feeling insane levels of anxiety right now. I just wanted everyone to know that. Silence followed. Everyone turned and looked. Nothing more needed to be said, and the natural response from the group was genuine celebration and applause. There didn't need to be a deep dive into psychology or a therapeutic session. There didn't need to be a smart answer to overcome the self-sabotage. No reframes and no tactics. All it took was for her to state the truth of what was going on for her in the moment and stop running from it. The war had been won with surrender. What a great paradox that is. Yet we often fall into the trap of building monuments of our best and defending our worst, all the while tiring ourselves into having to be a certain way for extended periods of time, often to try and please people we don't know, and they certainly don't know us. This creates the need and desire to build the army, construct the tanks, and get to war with careful, strategic tactics of how to beat the enemy. Discomfort. We make plans in our minds of how we can create our own simulations that make us look like the hero as much as possible, even if that is a crafty version of ourselves being vulnerable. This is foolish and often leaves the war general empty. True surrender is momentary, where you are firmly placed in nothing but that present moment in time, selectively forgetting the past and suspending disbelief into the future. It's where you don't know the outcome, you don't know the response, you don't even know what the answer could possibly look like. There is no reference point, there is no certainty, there isn't even any uncertainty in a strange way. All there is. And at that moment, when you turn to the monster hiding behind the shadows, fall down on your knees raise your hands to the sky and say, "I'm yours," that is the exact moment when the shadow is blinded by the light, the monster evaporates, and all you're left with is the realization that it only had its power when you choose to look away, run away, or deny its existence at all. The sales game did this for so many, myself included. It's a microcosm of life that provides a safe place for people to face monsters. Not all faced them, but those that did found immediate and irrevocable reprieve and relief. This is the not-so-subtle art of surrender. It's a noble and courageous act that seems irresistibly easy, but only until after the white flag has flown. What do you need to surrender to?
So I came into this not knowing what to expect, what to do. Just having like that unrealistic thing in my head that was like, oh, maybe this is not going to be for me. But then I stepped out of my comfort zone and, took that first initial step to be like, oh, maybe this could be. And then I put myself out on the line, and everyone was really welcoming and comforting, and it was a really safe space to actually just say what you wanted to say and do what you wanted to do, whilst also learning in a really great environment. And these guys are pros at it, and they will definitely 110% help you on your business journey or financial journey and whatever you plan to do next.